Welcome, I'm Erica Lawrence, naturopath, nutritionist, and herbalist. I'd like to thank you for joining me in this Youthful Radiant Self webinar. This has been recorded following the live call, just so that we could compact everything and keep it as concise for you to refer back to for days, weeks, and months, years to come. So we had a really great, engaging live call. I'm just going to keep things as simple and as smooth as possible for you, and I hope that you can tune in for the next ones. All right, moving on. I imagine that you are here because of a few reasons. You want to wake up energized and ready to take on the day. You're sick and tired of feeling fatigued and lethargic. You wonder where those fine lines and wrinkles are coming from. It seems like every time you look in the mirror, you're seeing new ones popping up, and obviously it's a sign of getting older, and that's not a bad thing. But we can slow it down, and we can help to minimize these fine lines and wrinkles. There's a few ways that we can do that. Now, you want to be present each day and still have energy to do other things you love at the end of it. I imagine you want to look and feel incredible, but don't know where to begin. So we're going to address all of these areas, and of course all of the techniques that I'm going to be informing you of are natural, holistic, and are there for the long term. So in this training, you're going to learn the number one way to restore vitality, how to slow down your aging process, the key to glowing, youthful radiance, how you can overcome fatigue, and the secret to lasting energy. God, it sounds like the secret to life, but it really is. It's fundamentally going to change the way you live. So what's my story? Well, I'm a naturopath, nutritionist, and Western herbal medicine practitioner. I'm also a health coach. I'm a writer and researcher. I do a regular food and health blog. I engage in short video posts on a weekly basis with my online community, and I'm definitely a foodie. My life revolves around food, and delicious, wholesome, nutritious food is what I'm all about. It wasn't always that way, but obviously now that my journey has led me down this path into natural health and wellness, the foods that I put into my body are generally, going to benefit me in some way. So I began my journey in this health and wellness industry to heal my own body. I had a lot of issues that seemed to be unrelated. I had eczema, allergies, asthma, I had reproductive issues, I had sleep problems, I had a bit of, a restless nervous system and a really hyperactive stress response. All these things I wasn't really aware of. Definitely some digestive upsets, some things were pretty slow, what were seemingly not connected, and they weren't really big enough problems that doctors could tell me anything more than just to take an over-the-counter one a day to, cover this symptom, mask that symptom. Nothing was actually going to get to the bottom of my issues. So I wasn't happy with that. I didn't feel like that was the only solution. So I started researching into different areas of education, and I ended up doing my training in Sydney, Australia, and I'm now a qualified naturopath. And I have not looked back since. My life has changed, and the amount of knowledge that I've learned is it's mind-boggling when I think back to where I was many years ago to where I am now. So it's my passion to share that with you here today. So I do run my own naturopathic clinic. I see clients both locally here in Western Australia and internationally. And I do these consults via Skype, email, phone, and then face-to-face if people are within the area. And I definitely stay motivated to continue doing what I do. Through my online community, the passion and the support that I give to my community and vice versa, and through observing client results. It's absolutely amazing. It's so gratifying to see their symptoms resolve and their quality of life just skyrocket based on these changes that we've done. And this is all due to natural and herbal nutritional medicine. So the healing power of nature is truly limitless, and it's just absolutely magnificent. I feel so blessed to be here. So thank you. Now I'd like you to take a moment. You can write it down or just meditate on it for a moment. But what are your health goals? Where do you visualize yourself in the future? What do you want to accomplish and achieve? Is it what we talked about earlier about that youthful, radiant vitality, being comfortable in your skin, having energy to get through the day, and then some? to spring out of bed in the morning? What would it be like for you to have more energy, vitality, and mental clarity? How would it benefit not just yourself, but your loved ones? Will it change their lives as well? What exactly is your big why that's going to pull you forward when things get challenging along the healing path? It's not always extremely challenging, but you will find that as your body transitions and starts to balance out, there is going to be changes going on, and you need to be able to be mindful of why you're doing this. What's your driving force? What's your big why? It's going to be worth it. I can guarantee it. You're going to just look back and think, how could I ever live my life like that when you're feeling so much better? So just think of that, reflect on it throughout the day, when you wake up in the morning and before you go to sleep at the end of the night. So you might be surprised to find out that the number one way to restore vitality, the key to glowing radiance, your ticket to slowing the aging process and overcoming fatigue, comes down to optimal functioning of one body system. Can you guess? Any ideas? Well, digestion. Your digestive system is the root of overall health. Most naturopaths or natural health practitioners speak very strongly about this, but it's not something that conventional medicine has really taken on board. For one, science is constantly evolving and starting to shed light on this amazing area. And secondly, there's not really any medication that you can take to help sort out your digestive system and balance everything to achieve this optimal health and wellness. In fact, it's quite the opposite. So we'll get more in depth on this topic right now. So your gut is more than a processing station for nutrients. It's actually scientifically linked to almost every health condition. So currently we're talking depression, all the way to diabetes and blood sugar, autism to autoimmunity. Like, this is broad spectrum stuff we're talking about. The range of health conditions is from A to Z in terms of what it encompasses. It's fascinating. I guarantee, I would say within 10 years, every single health condition or any sort of symptom or I guess malady that we've got is going to be directly linked and proven to be linked to our digestive tract and our gut health. Hope you don't mind me using the term gut. Naturopaths love this term. Some people find it a bit harsh, gut, but it's the easiest way to umbrella term everything from your mouth down through to your anus. Your digestive system is it's a very complex system. So when we say gut, we're talking about everything: stomach, small, large intestine, colon, everything. So I'm going to be using that moving forward in the presentation. Just wanted to give you a bit of background on that one. So you're likely familiar with having a gut feeling. Now, your gut is actually a sensory organ. Now think sensory organ as in vision, so your sight, hearing, your ears, sight, which we just talked, taste and touch. It houses more nerves than the rest of your peripheral nervous system. Your peripheral nervous system is composed of your brain and your spinal column, but obviously you are just full of nerve endings, and it's incredible to think that your gut actually has more nerves than the rest of your peripheral nervous system combined. Another neat fact is that your gut is also your primary immune organ. That's pretty big information. Primary immune organ. It makes more immunological decisions in one day than the rest of your immune system makes in a lifetime. So now you're actually getting a picture of your gut as a complex system where immunological reactions are happening all the time. Signals are firing and it's sending messengers to the rest of your body. So you might not now be surprised to find out that 70% of your immune system is in your gut. So again, if your digestive system isn't doing what it needs to be doing and isn't balanced, it's affecting all sorts of areas of your body, especially your immune system. So you've got nearly 1,000 types of bacteria colonizing inside of you. This is known as your microbiome. The balance of this flora is paramount, absolutely crucial to your overall health and vitality. So there's literally a published scientific paper titled "The Gut Flora as a Forgotten Organ." So seriously, your flora, these bacteria are considered an organ. which is basically saying that without this bacteria, you will die. You fail to thrive, and you will fail to exist, because it is crucial and foundational to your existence. So, having said that, what exactly does the gut flora do? How does it actually impact your overall health and wellness? Well, there's a myriad of areas that gut flora is related to. I'll cover 5 right here. We're talking about metabolism, energy production, nutritional status, genetic expression, and your bowel transit time. So going into more depth, the metabolism link is that there is a growing body of research suggesting gut health influences weight. A recent study found that obese people to have a less diverse gut flora than lean people. Going forward on that note, there was a study done that transplanted the gut flora from an obese person to a mouse, as well as gut flora from a lean person to a mouse. And the obese person's flora saw the mouse gaining weight and having an increased fat mass than the lean transplant. So this actually proves that there's metabolic changes evident from this transplant. The obese mice also produced more of the compounds that are found in obese people, specifically some branched chain amino acids that they produce more of. And the lean transplant mice had an improved breakdown of carbohydrates and reduced body weight. Now this is based on the exact same diet. The mice ate the same food and had the same amount of exercise, and these were actually metabolic changes just from the change in gut flora. This is fascinating, absolutely amazing. And what about energy production? Well, fermentation of dietary fiber and starch by colonic bacteria, they produce energy, various gases, and short-chain fatty acids, specifically acetate, butyrate, and propionate. Now, these have a very protective effect. So, if you have a diet that's low in resistant starch and plant-based fibers, your body's going to produce less short-chain fatty acids. And this can be directly linked to the amount of colonic disorders in Western cultures. Compared to Eastern cultures that might eat a few more of these resistant starches, more plant-based fibers, more fermented foods, they actually have a higher production of these short-chain fatty acids, which are incredibly beneficial. So, gut flora and nutritional status. These beneficial bacteria, they produce digestive enzymes. Now, digestive enzymes are absolutely fundamental to the breakdown and assimilation of all nutrients. So without this enzymatic activity, your proteins, your carbohydrates, and your fats cannot be broken down or absorbed properly. So again, if you don't have that healthy, balanced bacterial colony, it doesn't matter if you're consuming completely organic, local produce that is packed full of nutrients and is mineral rich. You could be consuming as many superfoods as possible and just packing in the antioxidants, but you're not actually going to be absorbing any of this. Sure, you're going to benefit from not consuming, let's say, the pesticides and chemicals that are in the non-organic and perhaps genetically modified foods, but you won't be getting any more nutrition out of it, and you can still end up in a deficient state, despite putting as much good food into your body as you can, just because you're lacking a balanced ecosystem internally. So it's really, really interesting stuff. Now, gene expression. It's going to get a bit scientific. I'll be very brief. So gene expression is the process by which a genetic code is used to direct protein synthesis and thus produce the structures of your cells. So obviously we are made up of trillions of cells. So your genetic code is very intricate. Your gut flora actually affects your genes that are responsible for your body's production of specific vitamins. So you obviously want to have a good signaling system happening, a good messaging system happening within your genes, and of course that's linked to your gut flora. The beneficial flora has actually been proven to impact hundreds of genes in a positive disease-fighting manner, similar to a really healthy approach to medicine. Now, not chemical medicine, but like a foundational herbal medicine or nutritional medicine that's going in there to actually cause a very protective effect on the body. Now, bowel transit time. So there are a plethora of studies showing the link between your colonized bacteria and your bowel transit time. So how fast food is, I guess, passing through your digestive tract. That can be linked with both constipation as well as diarrhea. So there are specific species and strains of bacteria that are linked to both constipation and diarrhea, separate strains and species, but big aspect here that's going on to determine what's happening internally and how fast or how slow things are moving through you. So when this microbiome becomes unbalanced, what exactly is causing the imbalance? It's lifestyle factors, things like alcohol, processed and refined foods, inflammatory foods, too much wheat, too many grains, too much dairy, all very popular foods in Western diet and Western lifestyle for sure. High alcohol, lots of processed, refined, packaged foods, not a lot of real nutrition happening for a lot of people. Stress is another huge factor. It's pretty much impossible to avoid stress. I'm not saying, oh, you need to shut off your stress response because otherwise you're doomed. That's totally impractical. But it is good to know and be aware that your enzyme secretion can be up to 20,000 times less during a stress response. And in fact, your digestive system essentially stops in an extremely stressful state. So just be mindful of that. How much stress are you exposed to on a regular basis? Drugs. The oral contraceptive pill is a huge one. Not only does it disrupt your gut colony in a really big way, but it also leaches nutrients. So these are things that most women don't know about, myself included. And I was on the pill for a few years. I had no idea the long-term ramifications, even short-term. The amount of deficiencies that I was experiencing throughout my time on the pill, I just wasn't aware of. So it wasn't until I started doing more research that I've like, wow, why don't more young women know about this? Antibiotics, another big factor. It actually kills off both good and bad bacteria. So you need to make sure that you're recolonizing with a really healthy, broad spectrum flora to get yourself back on track. NSAIDs, which are non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like painkillers, those are being prescribed left, right, and center. People are taking them all the time on a regular basis. Definitely disrupts that internal ecosystem. Antacids and other medications. So all of them have a detrimental effect. Overseas travel is another big one. Contaminated water and food. They have bacteria and parasites and pathogens in them that you might not even realize you've been exposed to because maybe your symptoms aren't that severe. But they can hang around and they can cause problems long term. They certainly can cause an overgrowth in the undesirable parasites and bacteria and pathogens than if you hadn't been exposed to these types of conditions overseas. Now, that's not to say stop traveling. My God, that'd be ridiculous. But you can actually be more resistant to these parasites and pathogens from overseas travel if you have a really strong, healthy gut to begin with. And that won't allow them to proliferate your system as easily. Environmental toxins, another big one. So pollution, chemicals, sprays, fertilizers, pesticides, cleaning agents, another huge one. These are all major players in what disrupts your microbiome. So this intricate signaling is disrupted, which causes a systemic dysfunction that can then lead to what we call leaky gut. It leads to accelerated aging, dull skin, low energy, and is scarily a gateway to chronic illness. So what exactly is leaky gut? It seems very strange. Well, your intestinal wall has tiny finger-like projections that we call villi, and these surround really tight junctions that regulate digestion and allow only specific tiny particles to pass through into your bloodstream. So this is actually where almost all of your nutrient absorption takes place, on those villi. And they sort of decide, they're definitely the gatekeepers, or if you want to compare it to the bouncers at a nightclub. They only let certain people in, they monitor and control very tightly the goings on. So this happens to also be your immune system's first line of defense, which by now you're probably not as surprised about. But pretty fascinating what's all happening just from those villi on your intestinal lining. So your intestinal lining and these villi are very delicate. And when they're damaged, and this is from the same triggers that disrupt your microbiome, those tight junctions become more porous and they start to have gaps in them. It's almost like a netting starts to occur. And this obviously then allows more or larger food particles and other undesirable things like yeasts, like toxins, certain proteins, and other forms of waste that are not normally absorbed to pass through into the bloodstream because those tight junctions are no longer there. So you've got this, what was once a tight netting is this sort of large porous netting. So your body actually reacts to these foreign bodies that are now passing through into the bloodstream. First thing, your liver is called into action to screen out the particles. It's actually nearly impossible to keep up with, and they then accumulate in your bloodstream. Since your liver can't keep up, your body's next step is to wake up your immune system. We've got a battle, so we have to now fight off these foreign particles, these invading particles, and your immune system gets put to work. Now, obviously, if those gut junctions stay quite open and damaged and porous, there's never going to be a break from these foreign invaders. So your immune system is actually going to be constantly fighting. Now, over the long term, your immune system cannot do this. And a majority of these pathogens are then absorbed into your tissues, causing inflammation and more systemic stress. It's kind of a vicious cycle. The end result is that your body puts all of its energy into this battle, and in the long term, it can actually produce antibodies to specifically fight these foreign invaders. Things that would normally not cause a problem because they wouldn't normally be allowed to pass through. Things as simple as casein, which is the protein found in milk and dairy products. Gliadin is a protein found in gluten. Other proteins found in nuts, grains, eggs, even normally occurring food chemicals can trigger an immune response from a prolonged leaky gut. So that's sort of the physiology behind it and what's actually going on at a foundational level. So this prolonged process of inflammation and immunological disarray, it actually results in this accelerated aging. It results in nutrient deficiencies and malabsorption syndromes, hormonal imbalances. Another big factor here is hormonal imbalance in terms of aging. Suppressed immune system function, and actually hyperactive immune system function because of that constant battle that's going on, which is then going to trigger something a bit worse, which is autoimmunity, when your body starts to fight itself. Fatigue and a much lower quality of life is definitely a result of this leaky gut and this dysbiosis, and a total suppression of your youthful radiance. So here's just a quick example so you can visualize what's going on. We've got your triggers that are causing the intestinal damage, and then you've got on the left there, the normal healthy tight junction, which obviously is doing a very good job at preventing strange foreign objects from passing through. But from the prolonged inflammation and an imbalance in gut and these triggers that we talked about, you're seeing that the holes starting to happen, these porous gaps between those beautiful tight mucosal cells. And then of course you've got your circulating immune complex that results from them passing into the bloodstream. It passes the blood-brain barrier, you've got inflammation, you've got autoimmunity, and you've got malabsorption and nutrient deficiencies, none of which are a pretty picture. So worst of all, as I mentioned about its possibility of leading to autoimmune diseases, and this is exactly where your body fights itself. And it never should have done that in the past. And the only way to treat autoimmune condition from a conventional approach is with immune suppression drugs, because your immune system is actually hyperactive and over-responsive. So this is setting ourselves up for all sorts of chaos. But just to create an awareness, certain like autoimmune conditions are things like chronic fatigue syndrome, which is becoming a lot more common these days and aren't really treatable conventionally. Multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's and dementia, irritable bowel syndrome, ulcerative colitis, which is an inflammatory bowel disease, fibromyalgia, which is tons of joint pain that's wandering and you just do not have a standard of living that is desirable. And there's many more autoimmune conditions, but just as an umbrella approach. These are a few examples. So signs of a leaky gut and an imbalanced gut flora, which we call dysbiosis. Digestive issues, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, flatulence, bad breath, cramping, indigestion, just to name a few. Allergies are another sign of a leaky gut and an imbalance. fatigue, brain fog, concentration difficulties, sugar cravings, even cravings for wheat and dairy. These are primary fuel sources for the bad bacteria that can become imbalanced. And they crave that fuel source. So that's why your body is wanting those less than healthy foods. Once you balance out your internal gut health, you'll notice that your cravings start to disappear because those bacteria that are wanting to feed on those foods aren't there in nearly the levels that they used to be. It's exciting. Weight gain as well. We already talked about the link between metabolism and energy production. Food intolerances. Unless there's an actual allergy, food intolerances can often be healed. Skin conditions like acne, strange rashes, eczema, and psoriasis all come back down to the gut. Depression, irritability, mood disorders, another one. Big links, and these all have scientific papers to back them up. Joint pain, again, it's crazy. Everything is linked. Yeast infections and thrush, another big sign that there's an imbalance happening. So, can you relate to any of those symptoms? You don't have to relate to all of them. Even if you can tick a box or two, it's telling us that there's something going on. You don't have to have all of them. In fact, most people wouldn't have all of them, but a lot of people have quite a few. So a majority of the world's population is indeed suffering from an unbalanced digestive system. Can you see now how your gut is actually the root of your overall health? Best of all, this is what makes me just so excited, is that you can stop this from progressing and you can reverse the damage, just like I did. You can start the healing process and you can begin looking and feeling your very best. You'll be blown away by the change just from balancing out your gut health and healing and sealing that damaged lining. So before I healed myself, I ticked off most of those boxes without realizing how interconnected they really were. And I didn't have any idea that they could be naturally resolved. And I remember thinking, I feel like crap. I'm too young to be feeling like this, and I'm also too young to be taking pills on a daily basis. It wasn't good enough for me. I knew that there had to be a solution. I was definitely frustrated with the doctors just saying, this for that, take a pill, take that, and masking symptoms. It didn't make me feel very good about myself because I knew that I wasn't balanced. It made me feel like something was wrong with me, but I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know what was causing it. So again, I had no idea that my digestive system was the foundation for everything, and it played such an important role in my overall health and well-being. So, if this has resonated with you, I would love to invite you to join me for part 2 in this Youthful Radiant Self webinar series. The cost is $49, and in this I'm going to show you, and I'm going to go very in depth on how to balance your microbiome, how to decrease inflammation, how to heal your intestinal wall, and how to improve stomach acid. You're going to overcome leaky gut, and you're going to just restore health and start climbing that ladder to amazing wellness. It's actually amazing. It's so exciting, I can't wait to share it with you. So if you sign up now, I am offering a fast action discount. You'll pay only $29, and this is less than the cost of a 15-minute follow-up naturopathic consultation. Seriously. You'd be silly not to be honest. I will also have another giveaway live on this webinar as a thank you for your interest and support. But believe me, what you're going to learn is going to change your life. You will receive a recording as well that you can refer back to as often as needed. So ask yourself, are you ready to become your most youthful, radiant self? I hope your answer is yes. You aren't going to regret it. So make the commitment, and I look forward to seeing you very soon.